This is Prime Sports NASCAR on Prime Sports Network. And we are coming to you live, or at least Eric is coming to you live from Indianapolis Motor Speedway with the Daytona 500 set for a week from Sunday. And then right over there, it's CJ Radoon in his living room. And I'm in North Carolina. But anyway, Eric's the one having all the fun today. Right, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun here. It's the Indy 500, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Sorry.
Yeah, we don't want to get the bad rep. They're like, hey, these guys don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, right.
No, they, it's been fun. We had a second day of practice here. They, for gearing up for Well, this is race practice. Tomorrow they turn the boost levels up. Should have 230 mile an hour plus laps tomorrow on. So, but so far so good. Good day of practice.
And we're going to have some IndyCar coverage for sure between now and the race. So we'll let everybody know when that obviously is going to be set to go. Best thing to do is to follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. Of course, you can take a look at the ticker there, Eric and CJ. You can follow their Twitter handles. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel. There it is. I like it.
There it is on my mask right here that I'm
legally not Eric,
wearing,
Eric, the first...
But there's nobody around me.
The first thing I saw when the screen popped up from Eric was him and his mask. Yep. And that was not a good sight. So
I've been obliging by the rules, but I am literally the only one back here behind the pagoda. So I did notice the live TV shots aren't wearing these things for the local news. So I'll just follow everybody else what they're doing, and if somebody stops me, I got it here. I'll put it back.
Well, if I see anybody like starting to walk from behind you and they get bigger as you know on the screen, meaning that they are getting close to where you're sitting, I will let you know so you can throw that mask on.
Word. Yeah. Yep. I got it right here. I'll keep it in my fingers so it'd be ready. Like I'll tell my call.
Yeah.
Just putting it back on. So.
And
drinking my invisible water.
And by the way, NASCAR ratings have been kind of weird to understand over the last month. The whole Bubba Wallace thing, they really plummeted, it looked like, right after that. And even just a few weeks ago. But if you compare the NASCAR ratings with the other major sports, even just this past weekend, they actually outdid the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball coverage. The only thing they didn't take was the PGA Championship. And so you can say the ratings might have been down, but I don't measure it that way. I measure it against competition. And I think in general, NASCAR had a pretty good weekend. And the fans seem to like what happened this past weekend. I know Eric and I talked about it, CJ, on Monday's report. What did you think about the racing on over the weekend? And by the way, I was taking a look at the picks. I was sending out the picks report as we do every week, and I was looking over all our picks. And I was going, I had like a bunch of like sleepers. But you guys had like what did you have? You had like the second, Denny Hamlin. You had the third, I believe, right? Martin Truex Jr. And then you had Blaney and Kozlowski, who both were involved with the accident. It's like every driver you guys had, if Blaney and Kozlowski would not have wrecked, you might have finished 1 through 5 with your picks. But that was just so bad, CJ, what happened. And I know Kozlowski didn't do it on purpose. But, I mean, here's proof. I was going over the laps because we joked about this, Eric, on Monday. Harvick led 90 laps on Sunday's race. Boyer led 43 laps on Sunday's race. Blaney led 4 laps. And in those 4 laps, that's when Kozlowski decides to take him out. He didn't decide to take out Harvick when he was leading his 90 laps, but those little 3 or 4 laps that Blaney with the percentage of how unbelievable that is especially if you had money on both drivers like we did, is frustrating.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the profanities that flew out of my mouth when I watched that happen made everybody in the house come rushing to see what was wrong. Yeah, it was unbelievable. That aside, I mean, it was one of the better races I think we've seen all season. There was pretty good racing. I think, despite the fact that we all knew Kevin Harvick was going to take it based on his performance on Saturday, I think the racing in general at Michigan lived up to what we used to expect. I think it was really good. It was competitive. It was close. Those restarts, you could have had a number of guys, come up top, which is why we picked, the top 5, top 6 guys, and they would have finished 4, 5, 6 or whatever. But among those, you honestly didn't know, and it was a pretty close finish at the end too. So I thought it was a good race. I think the ratings, like you said, it's right to compare it to the competition versus the outright number, because any given circumstance can change those overall. But those who did tune in certainly got a good race for their time.
Yeah, and look, it's Harvick even admitted he didn't have the car that he had on Saturday. Look, if Kozlowski doesn't wreck Blaney and himself, I think Kozlowski and Blaney are probably going to be 1-2 in that race, to tell you the truth, depending on restarts and other luck factors and so forth. But they looked like they had to it was like Kozlowski was racing like there were 5 laps to go. That's what it looked like to me. It's like, yes. What is he doing?
He was. He was. And I don't know if the anticipation of how strong Harvick was on Saturday made him feel that extra little bit of aggression, like I have to get it now, or else I may not get this chance again. That may have played part of it. Blaney, I think also, while it was 100% was not his fault, he also said he probably could have moved up a little bit. Didn't realize that Kozlowski was there, at least as much as he was. It was just a brain fade by Kozlowski, dumb mistake. But yeah, I think those two certainly had a less of a gap to close on Harvick than they did on Saturday. That's for sure.
All right. So Harvick sweeps the weekend, and now we have Daytona, and now we have a road course race. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And I was looking at your picks, and I understand exactly which way you guys are going. And that's why I'm glad, thinking back, that I'm glad I did what I did, because I think it's a strategy that makes sense on both ways. One way, you got to go with Truex and Elliott because they're clearly the top 2 road course drivers right now. Kyle Busch is a good third, but they're right now, the last couple of years, the best 2 road course drivers. So I understand why you would definitely at least try to get your money back with either one of those drivers winning. But the other strategy that I decided to take was, this is just one of those races that I don't think we have any idea what's going to happen. It could be all sorts of craziness. There could be all sorts of wrecks. And because of that, I'm just going to go all in on all the other drivers that I think are the top competitors other than Truex and Elliott. So that's my strategy, Eric.
Yeah, smart, because, Kevin Harvick's on the pole, and like we talked on Monday, and we read his quote that he read from Sunday after Michigan, and he was asked about being on the pole for Daytona because of the new metrics, and he basically said, I hope nobody follows me because I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been on the road course before there, and what if it's raining? I literally have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what to expect. So was that the Roval last year, the year before, where Kozlowski went into Charlotte and got too hot to turn 1 and everybody just followed him into the tire barriers? We might have that on Sunday. So it's a smart choice by going guys farther back, because there may be a lot of guys following Harvick into a runoff or a tire barrier on a Sunday afternoon.
Was that the same race that Jimmy Johnson got wrecked in the final lap?
It's either that one or yes, because I think it was
the
that
same one.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
Yeah, and that was one of the craziest races we have seen. Jimmy Johnson, all he had to do.
Expect that on Sunday.
What's that? Yeah.
Plus rain.
Yeah.
Plus he had rain.
Possibly. Yeah. So lightning is now the only thing that could stop us.
Yeah, let's hope that the lightning stays away, because this would be hey, let it rain. These guys haven't raced. I don't know if NASCAR Cup race has ever raced in the rain before. So you could have Cup race in the rain on a track they've never raced at. Hey, let's even throw another wrench into it. Maybe it rains or get a little bit of a lightning delay and make it run at night in rain under the lights. That would be a wild race. So, should be a fun thing.
Well, we talked about this. One of our 50 suggestions or 150 suggestions to NASCAR was, why don't they have rain tires? Why don't they throw that in, whether it's every race or some races, especially road course races? So what's the reason? Why did NASCAR decide this was the race that they're going to finally go with rain tires?
Well, they typically do at road courses. So like Watkins Glen, Sonoma, it just doesn't rain out there. As you notice, it's like all dirt on the runoff area.
So so theoretically they could race in Watkins Glen or Sonoma or Charlotte,
yes,
and they would have raced in the rain.
They would, as long as it's not like puddling.
Okay.
Which that would be that way anywhere. That if it's puddling, the tires, just like natural, if we're driving on the highway and there's puddling, sometimes you hydroplane. They can't do that at the speeds that they'd be doing it. So, yeah, the ovals are just too hard just because of the surface and the banking and the loads that the tires need to take. But on a road course, they're going a little bit slower, yeah. But that's the other factor. Daytona, they still run on the banking. So we'll see if it rains, we'll see what a rain tire does for these Cup cars. I'm very interested to see it.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll happen because we don't really get lucky when it comes to NASCAR.
No. I mean, it's of all those years I've been going to the night race in July down there, and it rains almost every year at the same damn time, and it always delays the race. It's always that late afternoon thunderstorm. Well, here we go. Here's a race in the late afternoon, and watch it not rain. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. But, yeah, we are owed a rain race in the Cup Series, especially on a track that never raced that. Or not a track, a course they've never raced that. So I think it would be wild and shake some things up and might steal some headlines.
Do we have a weather forecast yet?
Typical Florida.
Okay.
I saw like a 50-60% chance of rain. Right. So we'll see if it happens.
All right, let's talk about the drivers. And again, the two favorites are Elliott and Truex, CJ. And I'm trying to figure out the difference between the two. And I got to tell you, it's part of the reason I decided to go away from them, because I can't. You either go with both of them or you don't go with either of them. I just think trying to choose one of them is ridiculous. It's luck. That's how close these guys are on a road course.
Yeah, completely agree. If you choose one, you have to go with both. I mean, they finished 1-2 at Watkins Glen last year. They're the only ones that have won on a road course in the past year or so. I think they're definitely the best. I think that if you had to choose between the two, you might want to look at starting position, because on a road course, typical road course, it's about track position and it's about strategy. So you got Chase Elliott starting a little bit deeper in the field than Martin Truex, but I mean, still both of them are inside the top 10, so it's not like it's going to be a huge difference. So in reality, you do have to go with both if you're going to choose one of them, because or grab your coin and flip it. That's about the only difference you're going to get between the two right now.
All right, and I mean, does the fact that Elliott being the favorite, Eric, is that at all a surprise? Or if you would have been responsible for the odds, would you have had Elliott or Truex the favorite?
That's a tough. Probably Truex, only for the sense that he's on such a hot streak right now. He's got 4 straight third place finishes, 5 top 3s in his last 6. He's really good on road courses. He won the Roval. Oh, my notes almost blew away. He won the Roval a few years ago, so I probably would have went a slight advantage with Truex. But Chase has been good. He's won Watkins Glen the last couple of years. He won the Roval last year. Don't like the way their speed's been right now. I think Truex has more speed. That could all be negated by a Roval like we're going to see in Daytona. But I feel like Truex has the speed and enters hotter than Elliott right now. So I probably would have given the slight edge to Truex in the odds.
Both of you guys pretty much went all in with your top 2 wagers, Elliott and Truex. Next up, Kevin Harvick at 7-1. And the only person to put money down on Kevin Harvick was you, CJ. So Harvick, who is just hotter than hot, you would think maybe a road course will be the only thing that could stop his hotness, because he's not exactly a great road course driver. He's a decent road course driver, but this should level the playing field a little bit. Still, you're going to take Harvick. Does that have something to do with his odds?
It has to do with him being on the pole and has to do with his current pace. Track position, again, very important. If he screws up in turn one because he doesn't know where he's going, then that's certainly going to be a problem. The road courses, yeah, it's going to be the great equalizer for this field, so I don't think he's necessarily going to come out and win it. However, just based on the fact that I'm going with Elliott and Truex, given how quick Harvick has been and how dominant he has been, he hasn't finished outside of the top 5 for something like 7 or 8 races, if I'm not mistaken. It's been going on for a long time.
9 now. Yeah, 9 straight.
He's going to be there. He's going to be there at the end. It's just a question of whether, what kind of circumstances play out. Plus, this team knows their strategy. So what's more important on a road course than track position? Strategy. So that's a team that's been nailing it recently to get the job done. So I felt like I had to go for him as well.
Which of the other 3 road courses, if any, best resemble Daytona's?
For me, I would say Charlotte, but it's not. Daytona doesn't have the same elevation change. I'm curious to hear what you say, Eric.
Yeah, I would say it'd be a hybrid between Charlotte and Daytona, or sorry, Charlotte and Watkins Glen, because we've always talked about how Watkins Glen's like the super speedway of road course racing with the speed. So here you got a road course on a super speedway. So you could say Charlotte just because of it's a roval, but I think Watkins Glen would be the closest just because of the way that Watkins Glen races and this one's going to race. The infield portion of Daytona is far different than Charlotte is. And you're going to spend a lot of your time on the actual oval itself. So I would say, other than what do you call that thing, like with the chicane, with the turtles that they're putting there on the front stretch coming out of 4 at Daytona, that'd be the only thing I would compare it to Charlotte. The rest, I would say Watkins Glen, just because they call it the super speedway of road courses. Well, here you go, super speedway with a road course.
Are we going to have some really goofy, nerdy term for one of these corners, like we've heard Dale Jr. spout out with a couple of these other road courses?
Probably. I know that they've called like the Tums Heartburn Corner or something down there in Charlotte, like that turn 1. I don't know. I'm sure they will name something. I know like IMSA has distinguished names for some, like the International Horseshoe or whatever in the infield. So they'll probably use those, I would think, because NBC airs IMSA's schedule too. So they'll probably stick with those same terms so they don't confuse people.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Unless a sponsor sponsors one of those turns, I don't see him change the name.
I'm trying to remember which one that really was annoying. I think it was the one at Sonoma. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I think it was Watkins Glen. Was it the bus stop or was it
the bus stop?
Carousel.
Carousel.
Yeah.
That carousel. There you go.
There's no carousels in Daytona, unless they bring the real carousel like they use for the 24 hours of Daytona. I don't think we'll see. I don't think there's a term for that.
Thank goodness.
On that track.
They could not have said carousel anymore and been any less frustrating.
Chicane's going to be your drinking term.
Chicane.
You're going to hear a lot about a chicane.
All right. And it's going to come out of Dale Jr.'s mouth. I know it.
Yes, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Excitement.
Can we talk about why those guys do their race reports from the track at Charlotte? Like, why don't they go to the race?
Odd.
That seems weird.
Whoa, say that again? Why? What's happening?
Every race they've been broadcasting from the booth at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Like, Fox at least used the studio. NBC has a studio. I don't know why they don't use the studio, because it's like they're portraying that they're at a racetrack, like at the racetrack, but they're actually at Charlotte. You can see it in the background. They're doing
Seems
their
like
races
they're all in the
at
same
Charlotte.
room too.
Yeah,
you're talking about the broadcasters that broadcast the race.
Yes, like Dale Jr. and Steve Letarte and Rick Allen. Like, they make it look like they're separated by, like, one's on one end of the track and the other's on the far other, but they're like next to each other. And they're at Charlotte, and you can see the Charlotte, like the big Haas, the building, everything's in the background. Like, that, you're not fooling me. That, like, at Loudon was like, they showed that. I'm like, that's not Loudon. Are they at Charlotte? And they finally had to address it last week. Like, you might notice in the background, it's the Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's what we're broadcasting out of. That doesn't make any sense to me, but so they probably won't be in Daytona. They'll be at Charlotte broadcasting the race from Daytona, which is really weird.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Daytona guys, can't you get to the? I mean, so is this something like even if they're in the same town, they're not going to go to the track?
Yeah, that's what seems weird to me.
Seems
yeah.
like it.
It's that the drivers and the teams and other
And they allow fans in some of these.
Yeah, Daytona will have some fans. I don't know why they can't just fly into the airport, use the broadcast booth that literally is already set up there, broadcast the race, and then fly home. Because there's cameras there. There's already stuff set up to air the race. It's been boggling my mind lately. It took me a minute. I was like that's kind of trippy. It looks like there's the broadcasters, but that's Charlotte Motor Speedway behind them. That'd be like me broadcasting Daytona with the pagoda right here behind me. You guys like, you're not in Daytona.
Yeah.
That's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway back there. So yeah, that's for whatever reason. I don't get it, but
that's
they've
okay.
been broadcasting from
the government and the country has boggled our minds the entire year.
They're getting self-quarantine. Maybe they're living in the booth. I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe they're quarantining themselves.
You think it can't get any worse, and then college football makes the decision that happened a couple of days ago, and you just start to shake your head, and you're like, it just goes on and on and on. It's making no sense. Well, actually, it does.
Hey, racing,
sense,
we're here. Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah, we're here. We're not going anywhere. Yep.
All right, Denny Hamlin. Nobody took Denny Hamlin this week, and he's 8-1. He has just one win, though, in 30 road course races. That's got to be the reason, right, guys?
That would be the one.
Would be why.
Plus, he's starting second. I see the odds. They're trying to bait us 7-1, 9-1 for the front row. But, I don't trust it. But watch, they're going to go out and win this week. Watch, they'll be like, oh, I should have taken it. But, no. Yeah, this isn't a great road course for him. So, what I could see him and Harvick and those guys maybe doing, granted, it's not fully like the Roval at Charlotte, but you could use a glorified practice session and maybe throw everything away for Daytona, but go for the Roval because that's a playoff track. And maybe just like, hey, we need to stay out of trouble. We're not going to win. Let some guys go, and let's get some data for there since we don't practice there either. But, yeah, I just don't trust them this weekend.
Now, big surprise, the only driver that all three of us have taken, Ryan Blaney. Once again, even on a road course, we all have pretty much the same amount of money invested in him, from $15 to $25. He's actually my second choice, and your third choice, CJ, and your third choice, Eric. Why not? Even though Blaney only has one win, that's in 10 races. He has 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s. He's got the win in Charlotte. So that could come into play. But, yeah, Ryan Blaney just he to me, he looks like he could very well be the next Chase Elliott, CJ, on a road course.
5th, 3rd, and 3rd in 3 road course races last year. He's consistent. He's got the road course win under his belt. He's been really fast. He has something to make up for after last week too. I think this is a place certainly with the equalization across the field, just being on a different kind of course, that he could come to the fore. And I think as we saw Chase Elliott really come to life on the road courses a couple of years ago, I think Blaney has been right there behind him, and once he gets that breakthrough, I think he's going to be, like you said, another kind of Elliott, kind of break out and be one of the more dominant drivers as we come to these types of courses in the future as well.
And by the way, believe it or not, the only driver that we all took in our futures this week was Ryan Blaney. And how could we not at 10-1 odds?
No,
you got to go for that. Yeah.
He's 10-1 to win the championship. How is that even possible?
It's insulting.
And he should have won last week. Yeah.
He should have won 7 times this year.
Yep.
All right. Whatever.
Good for us. Good for us.
All right. Next up is Kyle Busch, and I'm the only sucker that went with Kyle Busch. He's my top driver this week. But I looked at this one, and again, if I'm not going to go with Elliott Truex, then it makes a whole lot of sense for Kyle to be my top choice this week. Not only is he overdue for a win, but as I mentioned before, he is definitely one of the top road course drivers outside the big 2. He has 11 career top 5s in 32 races. 4 of those are wins, 2 wins each at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. So what do you think about that, CJ?
Yeah, I think Kyle Busch is an excellent driver on the road courses. I got suckered into him last week. It's your turn to get suckered into him, I guess. If there's any place that he can do it at this point, late in the season, with the struggles that he's had, as Eric has said multiple times, he feels like he's down on horsepower, down on practice. There's no better place for all of those things to come together than this week. Choose him. This is the week to do it.
And Eric, you would hope so, because he's one of your top fantasy drivers, so he's got to get going.
Yep. Need him to get going. I mean, he's got 3 top 5s in his last 5, but he just hasn't been better than 4th in his last 12. He's got 1 win in his last 44, 45 starts, something like that, and that was at Homestead. So he's got to get going for his psyche. Just, you don't want to go in the playoffs the way he's been. I mean, even still, the top 5s are great, but if they're not going to be better than 4th, that just, with 1 playoff point, you look at what Harvick and Kozlowski and Hamlin and even Logano's starting to heat up, and it's got playoff points. He's not going to be able to points his way to Homestead. It's just not going to happen this year. He's got to win, but if you can't win in the regular season, what makes you think you're just going to flip the switch in the playoffs? So,
well, what is he, 9th? 9th in points, I think. And
yeah, he's somewhere around there. I'm
not talking about the winners, but get the winners out of 9th. I think overall, I believe he just took the lead over his brother, I think, this past week, and
8th. I'm counting 8th.
8th. Okay.
Yep.
So now, how about this? Because we've talked about this before. What if Kyle Busch doesn't win any races, gets to the playoffs, and he's sitting there, one of the top 8 drivers with 2 races to go, and then somehow finds his way into the Homestead race without a win?
It'll be Phoenix this year.
And now he's in Phoenix without a win, and then finds a way to finish 2nd, 3rd, or 4th ahead of the other 3 drivers and never wins a race.
His blueprint, it could happen. His blueprint would be he's got to cheer for Harvick and Truex and Kozlowski. If those 3 make it to the round of 8 with Kyle, he's got to hope those 3 win. And then Kyle then will be battling everybody else for that 4th spot as the wild card. So if I were him, his best route without winning is he's got to be a big Truex fan, which he already would be because it's his teammate. Same with Hamlin. And then hope Kozlowski or Harvick, somebody in there gets a win. And then actually Harvick, he's got to have Harvick, Hamlin, and Kezlowski get the win, and then him battle Truex. I'm sorry. That would be his blueprint to get to the championship 4 if he can't win.
And look, it's not going to happen. But
hey, Matt Crafton did it in the trucks last year.
Yeah, there you go. Possible. I mean, it's statistically speaking, it's not going to happen, but it could. Yeah. And if it does, and it does happen at some point, it just will be interesting to see what NASCAR does.
Yeah.
Maybe with everything that's gone on, bad luck this year, I mean, maybe this is the year.
That would be 2020. Somebody that didn't win a race with 1 playoff point somehow wins the championship.
Yeah.
That would be 2020.
All right. Next up, Kozlowski. The only one at 14-1 to take Kozlowski was you, CJ.
Correct. Yeah, he's not great on the road courses, but again, he's one that's been fast in recent weeks. He's not terrible on them either, so he's more like a top 10 kind of guy. But similar from my perspective with Harvick, with momentum coming into a place that you don't really know, that momentum is going to carry through, assuming you don't make mistakes. Also very good on the strategy. So they're going to be in the mix at the end, and you never know what's going to happen at a place like this. The late cautions are going to be rampant, I think, at this type of road course. They are on most road courses, so put them in position to win, and I think they're going to be bumping people out of their way to get to the front.
Okay, Bowyer. Eric, you and I took Bowyer at 18-1. Matter of fact, and I'm the only one to take Kurt Busch at 20-1. They're very similar. Bowyer has 12 top 5s and a win in 30 races. Kurt Busch has 11 top 5s and a win in 40 races. The odds are nice. That's the reason why I decided to take both drivers. I can understand why you could only take one driver, Eric, with your money on Elliott and Truex, and I don't have money on Elliott and Truex. But you liked Bowyer over Kurt Busch. Why?
He's just been solid, a top 10 guy on road courses lately. He was good in the Roval. He's got to do something different just because, like we talked about on Monday, he's feeling good right now because him and DiBenedetto they're battling. If somebody new doesn't win this race, then I think they're good. They've got enough playoff or stage points to good separation. So if I were him, I would go after a win this weekend just to make Daytona easier at the end of the month. So he's got a good car on road courses. He's a good road course racer lately. So yeah, for those odds, I went ahead to go ahead and take a risk on him.
CJ, you decided to pass on both drivers. Which of the two drivers would you have taken?
Bowyer. Yeah, I think Bowyer's been pretty decent on the road courses. Busch just a little bit, maybe half a step behind, not terrible on them. But like you said, they're very similar drivers. Though I think with Stewart, the Fords, Harvick, the momentum of the team, I would put it in Bowyer's court this weekend.
Nobody took Logano at 16-1. Nobody took DiBenedetto at 25-1. Nobody took Eric Jones at 25-1. Eric, and your namesake is in big trouble in the series.
Yeah, he lost his ride, was replaced by Christopher Bell. We all saw that coming. He does have some stuff lined up. If I was Rick Hendrick, I would definitely take a look at him to replace Jimmy Johnson. Stuart Haas should take a look at him. I know Chip Ganassi Racing, I think, has been in talks. But yeah, right now he has no ride. It's probably an awkward position to be in right now. He needs a win. He's not the greatest on road courses. His finishes are good just because he runs outside the top 15 most of the day, and everybody takes themselves out, and there he is. So I just don't feel good about him this weekend. His head's probably down. He needs he's like 25, 26 points, I believe, out of the cut line. He needs to get stage points to close that gap and hope to race better at Dover, a track that he's better at. So I don't like him this weekend for all those numbers and factors.
CJ, is this an advantage to him this season or a disadvantage now that he knows the news as far as making the playoffs?
I think it's an advantage because he can swing for the fences. I think before the pressure was on, now he's got nothing to lose. He's already lost it all, so he's got everything to gain. So he can be more aggressive. He's not going to necessarily ruffle any feather. He doesn't have to worry about pissing off his teammates because they're not going to be his teammates next year. So I think with the pressure off, knowing kind of, not that the pressure is not on because his pressure's on because he wants to be employed next year. It's just a different kind of pressure. Now he just knows fighting for a ride. I think that frees up the creativity, frees up the aggressiveness, and he gets after it. And I think that boosts him for the rest of the year.
The man who replaces him is Christopher Bell, the rookie. Out of the three rookies, Eric, you and I did take Bell. Got a couple of bucks on Bell, both of us. I also took Reddick. I'm the only one to take Reddick, and nobody went with Custer. But yeah, I mean, I think, again, this is one of those races where we haven't seen a win from Bell. We haven't seen a win from Reddick. Reddick was runner-up in Charlotte last year. Bell has had a decent road course resume in the Xfinity Series. So, and so is Custer. So it wouldn't be surprised to see Bell or Reddick maybe luck out the way Custer did in this race on Sunday.
Yeah, and Bell, he's on the opposite of Jones, right? In the wave of momentum. He's got a ride, knows his future. And again, it's 2020. Levine Family Racing announced they're shutting down. So what perfect situation for a team that is shuttering at the end of the season to make the playoffs. So a win will get him there. And Bell, he's not afraid to use the bumper if he needs it. He's a dirt track racer by nature, so he can hold it on the line. And I wouldn't be shocked if he somehow find his way to victory lane. So for those odds, might as well throw a couple bucks his way.
Yeah, one sports book, it's 50, 60-1. On another, they're up as much as 80-1 for those drivers. So definite bargain. Byron, that's your last pick, CJ. You put a few bucks on Byron. You're the only one to go with Byron. He has yet to hit a top 5 in 6 road course races, but he's had, he's shown recently that maybe he's ready to register his first top 5. And he looks pretty safe for the playoffs, but hey, anything can happen in a race like this. So he needs to make sure that if he has a chance to win, then go get it.
Yeah, he's got a 26-point lead over Jones in the playoffs. It's that plus the fact that he doesn't have the top 5 on the road course, but he's got top 10s and he's shown speed on road courses before. So not a whole lot of risk in going with him from my perspective, especially considering this is the first time at this type of track. So again, the field being a little bit more equal, he's got a great crew chief on his box that's calling strategy. I think strategy is going to be a really big player in this week's race if he can keep his nose clean and be, that top 10, top 5 kind of car that I think he can be. He's going to be in there for a shout with the finish as well. So 26 points is a lot of motivation over the cut line to when you're on your last restart and you're in position to push your way forward to get that win. So I think he's going to be going for it if he can.
Speaking of top 5s, it's still amazing, Eric, that William Byron, I don't even know if he has a top 5 in a year. Does he?
Has none.
He does not.
That is
None.
crazy to think about that. He's got the one of the best general managers / head coaches in the sport, in Chad Knaus, and it's just not working yet, at least to the level of even some of these other drivers that have shown more consistency, like a Di Benedetto and some of the other guys. I mean, Bowman, his teammate, has a win. Bowman's odds were a little bit lower than I thought they were going to be, but he does have a couple of top 5s at Charlotte, and his other teammate, Jimmy Johnson, as we talked about, almost won this Charlotte race a few years ago. He's had decent success in road course races. He's been in the top 12, top 13 the last few races, so he might be gaining some momentum again, which is the reason why I decided at 33-1 to put some more money on Jimmy Johnson. But other than that, none of you guys, Eric, you decided to stay away from any of the other Hendrick drivers this week.
Yeah, I just don't trust them still. Like Chase Elliott said earlier in the week on his teleconference that Hendrick is just missing something still. Not sure what. They're down in speed. They're trying to look for it. This race, there's going to be some high-speed portions. Is Fernando Alonso just wrecked? Looks like
What's
it.
that?
It's like Fernando Alonso might have just wrecked.
Oh, a wreck. Okay. Yeah, things are kind of quiet.
Heard, maybe he stalled.
That's usually bad news when it's quiet at the racetrack.
And it gets quiet. I think he stalled. But anyways, yeah, Jimmy Johnson, I just can't trust him yet until he's got that long winless streak. 33-1 was enticing. Byron, in his defense for the top 5s or lack thereof, he's gone for stage points. You can see their blueprint is trying to separate themselves from the bubble, and it's worked. He's 26 points to the good. We saw what he did at Sonoma last year or 2 years ago. It was last year with Chad Knaus. They went stage points. They had a top 5 car, and I think they scored top 5 points that race because of the stage points. I expect them to do the same this weekend. They'll go for stage points, and we'll see where it positions themselves. That's what's happened to him. I mean, you look at his finishes lately, 10th, 11th, 14th, 12th, 11th a few races before that. He's been around it. He's just not a top 5 car because they're not putting themselves in positions to be there in the final stage. And we'll see if that happens this weekend. Bowman, I don't know what's going on. No top 10s, or one top 10 in his last 7. No top 5s in his last 17. He's not a great road racer, so I just don't trust him as a group yet. We'll see what happens. Elliott's the one I trust the most.
Okay, and before we close it out, CJ, when I take a look at Eric's long shots, he's got Dillon at 250-1, Newman at 100-1, Stenhouse at 150-1, and McDowell at 125-1. Now, I also put a couple of bucks on McDowell, but out of those long shots, who would you go with?
McDowell. McDowell's a better road course racer. He has been consistently throughout his career. He's shown he's got the chops. He just needs the right strategy and needs the right equipment. So certainly among those guys, he's the better driver on these types of courses. And that probably outweighs the better equipment that those guys have right now. So definitely McDowell, that bunch. I would love to see him on one of these courses in a Stuart Haas car or in a Joe Gibbs car, something like that, because I think he would be right up there with Elliott, Blaney, and some of the others, Kyle Busch as well.
Okay. By the way, was it Nemechek in the race last week that kept wrecking?
Yep.
Yes.
I kept thinking because I had the
multiple times.
He did, yeah, because I had the volume off and I was working, And every time I would look over, it's like 10 minutes apart, I would see Nemechek causing a caution. And by like the second or third time, whatever it was, it's like, well, why is this guy still on the track? He's single-handedly stopping these races. How many chances do they get?
A few weeks ago. Yeah, that's.
How many chances are they allowed to have?
As long as the car
Really?
keeps running, they can keep going. Yeah.
That's not right, is it?
Unless you get black flagged. Yeah. No, it's not. It's because Kenseth did that a few weeks ago at Loudon, if you remember. He just took himself out. He's like, I'm done. I'm not driving this anymore. But he could have kept going. So as long as the car is capable of hitting the minimum speed and they've got laps to get there, there's a crash clock in pit road. They've got 5 minutes to get the car drivable, and that's it. And then they keep minimum speed, then they can keep plugging away.
Change the rule for that one. That's another new rule change. What I get? Well, I'd give him two. Two cautions, you're done.
Yep.
You don't get a third.
No. 3 strikes, you're out.
All right. RaceReviewOnline.com. You're going to be real busy the next couple of weeks, Eric.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Got to be here. Be bright and early in the morning, doing some IndyCar interviews. Got some Zoom meetings with drivers. Fast Friday for qualifying boost. We'll qualify for the Indy 500 this weekend. And then next weekend's the 104th running of the Indy 500.
That's awesome. And CJ, rotowire.com, what are you working on?
Rotowire.com. This week we will have fantasy previews up for the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series races, and then we'll probably have something going for the Indy 500 next week as well. Feels odd talking about Indy 500 in August, but hey, it's finally here.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
And then not too much longer after that, you got the Kentucky Derby.
Yep.
And I believe if all goes well, you might have the Kentucky college football game the same week as the Kentucky Derby.
That'd be interesting.
Crazy.
Hopefully Louisville doesn't have a home football game that week.
Yeah, that's true. All right, guys. Appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week. We've got the doubleheader at Dover to preview next week. So that should be quite interesting.
Yep.
Maybe our show will be more exciting than the race is.
Probably. Yeah,
thanks.
Plural.
Thanks. And by the way, Eric, congratulations on being one of only, 10 accredited journalists at the Brickyard.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, not many of us in there today. I think I counted 8 here the
There
other
you
day.
go.
So, yeah, feels good to be here.
You deserve it. Go ahead and just strout your stuff and put your mask back on.
Thank you. Yep. So I got to. I get back up to the media center. Yep.
Take care, guys.
Thanks. Appreciate it.